You got zero at the table, man. All kinds of shit breaks loose, man.
Pick me, pick me.
Joe's at the table, you gotta be careful. Tons of shit breaks loose.
Greetings, humans, and welcome back. I'm Joey Pigtails, and this is episode number 6 of my poker vlog, which takes place Wednesday, April 12th at Orange City Racing and Card Club, and includes hands from both my 1-2 PLO session and a brief jump into 5-5 PLO game for some bomb pots. So strap yourself in for some action. I'm just getting back from a couple weekends down at Hard Rock Hollywood. I fired a number of events there, and while the trip was a loss overall monetarily, I managed a 12th place finish in the Black Chip Bounty event and made a lot of really deep runs, so it was a win overall as I picked up another 50 plus hours of tournament poker experience, and I'm on track to be ready for the WSOP this summer. Anywho, I've got a lot of hands to go over, about twice as many as my biggest vlog so far, so let's do it. So this is my first hand back at Orange City in about a week, ever since this happened. Let's not talk about that. This is the second hand I'm dealt, and oh my dear poker gods, look at that. Ace of spades, ace of hearts, queen of clubs, 7 of diamonds in the small blind. There are 3 limps to me and I make it $30. The big blind snap calls, as do 3 other non-believers. With $150 in, we see a flop of ace of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 7 of spades. Top set, baby. No flush draws. The biggest stack we are facing has about $300 in it, so I lead for $125 looking for some action from someone. The big blind folds, but it looks like seat 5 has something he wants to play with and is now in the tank. He elects to call here, and seat 6 calls off his last $65. With $465 in, the turn is a 3 of clubs, which is about as safe as I can ask for. My opponent has about $175 behind, so I put him all in. I don't ever expect him to fold here, so there's no need to slow play. Sure enough, he calls instantly, and we see a 7 of clubs on the river to boat up and win this $800 pot. For middle position, I look down at king of hearts, queen of diamonds, jack of spades, 9 of diamonds. There's a button straddle, the blinds call, and an open of $20. I call, and the player on my left calls before the button raises to $110. The big blind calls off as $90, and this is a great hand to see a flop with, so I call, as does the player on my left. With $425 in the pot, we see a flop of 4 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, 7 of spades. I have just a gutter here, so I check. The player on my left jams, the button rejams, and I certainly can't continue here, so I fold. A couple hands later, I look down at aces again. Ace of spades, ace of diamonds, queen of clubs, 8 of hearts. There's a button straddle, and the small blind opens to 20. The big blind folds, under the gun calls, and I pot it to $90 with this beauty of a hand. The button, small blind, and under the gun all call. With $375 in, I can almost hear Poker Jesus saying, "I got you, homie," as I flop quads in proper Sun Run fashion. Should we bet? Nah, it's checked around to the river where I go for $25 in value, but it was pretty obvious I flopped this and no one was going to pay me off. I did, however, win the high hand for $400 for this period. Oh yeah! With ace of clubs, 10 of diamonds, 6 of hearts, 5 of clubs, I and 4 other players see a cheap flop while the table gets reorganized, which comes 10 of hearts, 10 of clubs, jack of spades. The small blind leads for $15 from a small stack, and I call hoping for more calls behind. Sadly, they all fold, and we're off to a turn of the ace of hearts. Remember, the mystery box could be anything, even a boat. Our opponents check, I bet what I thought was enough to put him in, and he folds. In the next hand, there's an open at $20. I call with ace of clubs, 9 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. Another player calls behind, and the small blind, who has just bought in for $100 for the 5th time, is all in for that $100. All 3 of us call, and we see a flop of 6 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 10 of spades. I have 4 clean outs to the nuts here, but this isn't ideal. I check, the player behind fires $100, and I elect to fold this marginal spot. On the button, I look down at jack of diamonds, jack of clubs, 9 of spades, 9 of diamonds. With 1 limp, there's a min raise to 10, 3 calls, and I decide to pot this to $75. I get 2 calls, and we're off to a flop of ace of clubs, 4 of spades, jack of spades. I flop second set in a pot where I should be the only person with ace-ace in their range, so this is the nuts most of the time. The board is wet though, so when check to me, I'm going to apply maximum pressure to draws and get value from worse hands like 2-pair or a set of 4s. I fire 225, and the middle position player is the only non-believer and calls off his last $150 or so. The board runs out the 8 of hearts and 5 of hearts. Our opponent misses everything they were wishing for, and I scoop this $530 pot. In the next hand, I look down at Ace of Diamonds, 6 of Hearts, 5 of Diamonds, 4 of Hearts on the button. There's an open of $20, a call behind, I call, and the big blind calls. With $80 in, we see a flop of Ace of Spades, 3 of Hearts, 4 of Spades. I flop top 2 in an open-ended straight draw, but I don't have spades, so let's not lose our minds. The pre-flop aggressor leads for $30, and I'm not folding for that. The turn is the 3 of diamonds, so when our opponent leads for $75, I have to fold here though.
That was not the part I wanted to see.
In the next hand, I look down at Ace of Clubs, King of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 7 of Clubs. There's a button straddle, the small blind calls, the big blind folds, under the gun limps, and I make it $30 and get 4 calls.
Make it 30.
With $150 in, the flop is 8 of diamonds, 10 of spades, jack of diamonds, and I flop the number 2 straight with a redraw to the nuts straight. I don't, however, have any diamonds, and this is a multi-way pot, so let's pot control and see what happens. Thankfully, it's checked around. Would you bet here? Let me know what you think. The turn is the 3 of spades, bringing in another flush draw that I don't have. The small blind now leads for $75. It's folded to me, and since we are both really deep, I make the call hoping for a clean river and the other players fold. With $300 in, the river is the 5 of hearts, and when my opponent checks to me, I'm pretty certain I'm ahead and need to bet for value. The opponent has been kind of sticky, so I go a little bigger than I would against most players and bet $175, hoping for a crying call, which I do eventually get. So for a $650 pot, our opponent shows us that he flopped top set of jacks, had a 9 in his hand, and had a spade draw. So we were up against a monster drawing hand here and faded a lot of cards to win this pot. In the next hand, we are still waiting on more players. I look down at Ace of Spades, 9 of Hearts, 4 of Hearts, 2 of Spades. It's not really a good hand to be honest, but we're short and I'm feeling frisky, so I limp for 5.
Let's try it again.
The button makes it 20, and 3 of us call, making an $85 pot. The flop comes down Jack of Hearts, 2 of Diamonds, 2 of Hearts, and the under the gun player jams for $85. Oh boy, how much does he got? I make the call, and the other players fold. The board runs out the 9 of spades and the 9 of clubs, and I improve to 9s full of deuces to scoop this massive pot. The opponent shows 2 of clubs and an ace, so we were chopping on the flop, and I got lucky as shit to scoop this one. With Ace of Clubs, King of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, 9 of Diamonds, I open to $20 from middle position and get 2 calls to a flop of King of Spades, 4 of Diamonds, Ace of Diamonds. Now that's a good looking flop. I lead for $35 into 60 and get 1 call. The turn is the 10 of spades. It's not an ideal card as it brings in a straight, but that would require the opponent to have a rundown, which I partially block, and that kind of hand would probably raise the flop. So I lead for $100 into 130, hoping to take this down, and I'll probably fold to a repot. Thankfully, he folds, and I take this one down. In the next hand, we pick up the action here on the flop of 8 of clubs, 2 of diamonds, 3 of spades, where I end up putting a player all in with Ace of clubs, Ace of diamonds, Queen of clubs, 10 of clubs, and run into a set of 3s. This is a big blunder here, as I should have bet smaller on the flop and then folded to a raise. I'm not exactly certain what I was thinking at the time, but reflecting on this, I should have folded. The redraws weren't there, so it's just naked aces. Food for thought. Fast forward after a lot of opens pre-flop and either bet and take it or fold to flop bets, I didn't see many interesting hands until I looked down at this one, the King of Hearts, Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Diamonds in early position, and open at $20 to see 3 calls. With a flop of King of Clubs, Jack of Diamonds, 10 of Spades, I flop top and bottom pair, an open-ended straight draw, and I'm hard blocking the nuts with 2 queens in my hand. The small blind leads for $20, and I'm going to press my equity here and decide to raise to $100. It folds to the small blind, who looks really hesitant, and when he folds, I went ahead and told him that I had a monster, and it was a very good fold. Aces again! From early position, I see Ace of Spades, Ace of Diamonds, 6 of Hearts, 5 of Spades, and open to $20. I get 4 calls, so with $100 in, we see a flop of 6 of clubs, 2 of diamonds, 2 of hearts. We can argue for betting here, but with 5 players in, it seems like a bad idea. I check, and it checks around to a turn of the jack of spades. It's checked around again, and the river's the 3 of spades. It's checked around to the button, who bets $75, and we all fold. Should I have fired one of these streets? Let me know what you think. Again? Aces again? I absolutely love it. Love it! Ace of hearts, ace of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 3 of spades. It's folded to me. I make it $20. The guy on my left calls, and the guy on his left raises to 85. It's folded back to me, and I put out enough to put both players all in. One guy has $114, and the other guy has $178.
Nothing at all.
We go to the flop of ace of spades, 2 of hearts, 6 of hearts, where I have flopped literally everything. The turn is a 6 of diamonds giving me a boat, and the river is a 2 of clubs, and I scoop up another $300 or so from this one.
Look at that rat right
Feels good to be mostly running good in these spots.
there. Run over.
From the small blind, I look down at jack of hearts, 9 of hearts, 9 of clubs, 7 of clubs, and limp with pretty much everyone. It's a good hand, but I'm out of position the whole way here, so let's see what happens.
Games I play.
The big blind makes it $40, and with 4 calls behind, I'm never folding closing action here. The flop comes down 3 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, king of clubs. We've missed everything, so when a lay position player jams for $135, I can't continue with a gut shot to a non-nut straight and end up folding here.
This works.
In the next hand, I look down at ace of spades, king of diamonds, jack of hearts, 7 of diamonds on the button. There are a few limps to me, and I limp as well. The big blind raises to 25, and with 2 other calls, I call closing action. The flop is 7 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, queen of diamonds, giving me a pair and a second nut flush draw. The big blind leads for $40, another player calls, and I decide to call as well. The turn is a jack of diamonds, giving me 2 pair and the king high flush, and it's checked around to me. I go ahead and check back too, as this is sort of weird. The river is the king of clubs, and when it's checked to me, I go ahead and bet $100 for value. Small blind was already all in, and the big blind ends up folding, and the small blind actually ends up having the nut flush. So he's going to scoop this pot, and my bet ends up coming back to me. I played a few more hands before deciding to take an open seat at the 5-5 PLO game for a bit, and we get started with a bomb pot. I pick up the action on flops of 9 of clubs, jack of clubs, 6 of diamonds, and jack of hearts, 5 of diamonds, king of spades, while holding ace of hearts, jack of spades, 8 of clubs, 2 of clubs, and it's checked all the way around. Turn cards are the jack of diamonds and the 8 of hearts, and when it's checked to me, I fire a pot of $200, hoping to take this down with trips up top and 2 pair on the bottom. I end up getting 1 call though, and we see the rivers of the 4 diamonds on top and 10 of spades on the bottom, which really don't help me much. My opponent seemed reluctant to call on the turn, so I will go ahead and fire $500 mostly as a bluff here, and it ends up getting the job done. Was that a bad idea most of the time? Let me know what you think in the comments. Are we ready for another bomb pot? Of course we are. This time I look down at 7 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, 2 of spades, and we see flops of 3 of hearts, 2 of hearts, 6 of clubs on top for the nut straight, and 4 of clubs, 2 of clubs, 8 of clubs on the bottom for 2 pair. I lead for $200 here, hoping to build a pot, and I do end up getting 1 call. The top board is the ace of hearts, and the bottom is the 7 of hearts, and I pot this. In real time, I didn't realize a flush hit the top board, but I did see I picked up more boat outs on the bottom. My opponent gets it in with me for my last $950 to the rivers of the jack of spades and the 4 of spades, so I boat up on the bottom. I didn't see what he had, but he said he had clubs on the bottom and 2 pair on top, but I end up scooping this $2,500 pot with my straight on top and my boat on the bottom. The next hand happens pretty quickly as I'm stacking chips. Another bomb pot! I know my camera angle is a little off. I bumped the GoPro, so it happens sometimes. In this hand I have queen of spades, jack of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 4 of hearts. With $200 in, the flops are 3 of spades, 9 of diamonds, 8 of hearts, and 9 of spades, queen of clubs, 2 of clubs. I flopped a lot here, but I don't have a made hand yet. A late position player bets pot, and 3 of us end up calling to see the turns of the 10 of spades and 5 of diamonds. I now have the nut straight on top and top pair plus straight draw on the bottom.
Check.
I still check to try and see a free turn, and when the late position player bets pot, I'm not folding, so I end up jamming to get it all in 3 ways. The river's the jack of diamonds on top and the king of clubs on the bottom, so straight for me.
Another one.
I end up chopping this as my straight on top is counterfeited by a higher straight, but the straight on the bottom is good enough to take that board. Luckily no one had a club draw there. Wow, did you see all those aces? As a poker player, we see variance bubbles on a regular basis, and this session was definitely an outlier. In the great game of Pot Limit Omaha, we're supposed to see aces once every 40 hands, and I ended up seeing them about 10 times over the course of about 200 hands, so I was on the good side of variance this session. Here are the graphics from the 1, 2, and 5, 5 sessions I played. PLO is always volatile, as you can see, but I was on the good side of pre-flop hand distributions, as well as connecting really well and getting value in spots, so today's experience was definitely on the high end of the distribution. I did add the $400 high hand I won to the end of the 1-2 session I played, so that amount reflects the entirety of the profit. Some of you may not do this, but considering that the room takes $2 a hand for every pot that we play for these promotions, I feel including it properly reflects my overall win rate, since my numbers would be higher if they didn't actually take this $2. Some of you may have run into me at the Hard Rock, and if you did, you probably saw one of the custom shirts I was wearing. I've made a Teespring store, which I'll be adding more designs to over the next few months, but for now, there are a few things up there, including a Joey Pigtails Be a Good Human shirt, as well as a transparent Be a Good Human design, which is the name of the non-poker related podcast I produce. Your support is always appreciated, so if you're looking for something new, consider one of those as an option. Thank you all for continuing to support my journey. It means a lot to hear that you all are enjoying my content and are eager to see more. I've been stressed out quite a bit lately due to the variety of things, including having to consider moving out of Florida for my son's safety, so I struggle at times to keep up with everything. I'm human just like you all, and having a good support system has helped a lot with working through these things. If you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment. You can also interact with me on Twitter at Joey Pigtails. Thanks again for watching. I'm Joey Pigtails, and I am transparent, reminding you to be a good human. Bye!